Alright guys, welcome to For the Win 32 Best of 7 Finals. We are kicking it off with a rematch from the For the Win number 29 Finals. Will this feature the same storyline as that, or will things be mixed up a little bit? That's what we're here to find out. I'm Sybert, of course. Charlie H is here as well. He's a little bit crazy to get going in this match. On the left side of Infinity Isle in game number 1, our red Empire player, this is Fordell.
And on the right-hand side, in the yellow, with the allies, it's Vindies, coming direct from Copenhagen. He's looking to make some moves here, that's for sure.
He's looking to set the score straight, shall we say.
Yes.
Now, in For the Win 29, I don't know if you saw those games. They were actually a really good series. It was just a best of 5 for the finals.
All right.
Fordell ended up winning 3-2. Very close series. Some very critical mistakes made by Vindies in the last game that cost him that. But very well played from both of these guys. And from there, Vindies hasn't really played Fordell in a tournament setting since.
I know they've played some random games. I've seen them play some random games in the last couple of weeks. And I know that they've also been very close. So they're still familiar with each other's strategies. I don't think they'll be able to pull too many new tricks on each other, unless they have, of course, done something that you and I both haven't seen.
It's very possible. I mean, just in the last series, Vindies pulled out some very weird Cabana Republic shenanigans against Chris in the semifinals, and that was something that I had never seen. It was basically proxy aircraft carrier.
No, I didn't see that, but it should prove to make this. It should stand to make this final very interesting indeed.
The other aspect that we haven't, talked about too much is in these sort of situations, Fordell loves to play random. Sometimes he plays, allies for a series, but in a lot of tournaments, he'll just play random, which always means we never know heading into the game what matchup we're going to get.
Yeah. Which makes things so much more interesting. And it actually, in my opinion, it really speaks to perhaps Fordell's overall skill that he's able to do that and still remain competitive.
There's certainly a discussion to be had amongst the pro players of whether or not the advantage of knowing your opponent's faction when they don't know yours and having to be able to play all 3 factions, like what the skill difference is there. Very nice split from Fordell with his dojos and the Imperial Warriors. Cleans up pretty much every single one of the Peacekeepers. Vindies, of course, going for that airfield, but he's got nothing on the ground left to deal with this infantry swarm from Fordell.
You get the feeling he's going to lose that if he is not very careful indeed.
Actually, just a couple more shots, and it goes down just after the cell animation starts. One of the dojos on the high ground gets picked off by that Vindicator, but that Rax in the middle of Vindies' base is pumping out tank busters. There's going to be a lot of DPS coming out from Fordell that Vindies is going to have to deal with. And really, he's just got a Vindicator and a couple of Riptides, which over time should allow him to break down that door. But of course, on the back end, Fordell, he's not taking any damage. He's just been able to expand freely. Very
freely indeed. He's got the high ground advantage here. It's often the case that the person who sets up in the middle first and most strongest is going for the win. Is gonna eventually triumph.
We'll see if that ends up proving true in this particular game, as I would not count Vindies out until he's literally typing GG and leaving the game.
There's in a couple of the games that I've commentated, I've seen some GGs very early on, and then either one of the competitors has thought, actually no, I can carry on with this. And we've had another 5 more minutes of battle, which has proven very entertaining.
Sometimes it happens. Sometimes you think you're out of it when you're really not. Or they were just particularly cocky and they were like, hey, I look like I'm dead, but I'm going to offensively GG.
Has that been used as a trick very often?
In tournaments, I have never seen it, but I don't know if you're familiar with Jack Attack.
No.
Oh. So he makes sometimes very silly videos in relating to video games, and he actually has a video that basically touts that as a strategy where you type GG and then you type your own name and has left the game in a crude attempt to fool the other person into leaving. That doesn't sound like cheating. That just sounds dirty. It's quite dirty, but some people also call Tengus dirty, and that's exactly what Fordell is using to take down the economy of Vindies. A couple of different ore refineries getting harassed at the same time by those Tengus, and really it knocked down Vindies' ore collecting in half.
Yes, you can see that in Vindies' his western ore refinery, he has got no ore collector going, and the Tengu sat inside the perimeter walls, which makes it almost futile. Oh no, and it's gone. But would make it very difficult to get another ore collector going worthwhile. Make it worthwhile.
The other side of this is the honorable discharge that, of course, Fordell's units have. All of those Tengus that are in such close proximity to buildings and units, every time Vindies is killing them off, he's doing that extra bit of damage to his own units and structures. And a guy like Fordell will split off individual Tengus as they get low on HP to run them as close to his opponent as possible. Those are the sorts of moves that you see from a guy like Fordell.
Yes. The ability to pull your army back to a base to heal up as soon as they're damaged is a very helpful one. One that you may not be able to get to this level without being able to master. If you just have to send all of your troops in, like gung-ho.
The one Vindicator for Vindies ends up getting cleaned up by this cloud of Tengus as they move in on the Apollo, sniping one of them very easily. There's actually a cryocopter, which is a bit exposed. Fordell does not get eyes on it. He doesn't know that it's there just yet. And Fordell, with those point defense drones, is a very powerful force.
Yes, you can see he's perhaps made the very early got the very early advantage here. Not even these Apollo fighters are able to make a dent in the Tengu cloud, as you so rightly called it, that Fordell sent over.
Vindies trying some cutesy micro with his Apollos to get as much damage out on those Tengus as is possible. And Fordell sacrificing a Yari mini-sub to try to kill off a Harvester out on the water of Vindies, but doesn't quite manage to get it, ends up having to kill off the Riptide instead. Cryocopter going to be pulling in, but that's pretty much an instant snipe by those Tengus. That's a 1,600 credit investment that Vindies was expecting to get a lot more out of.
Yes, he's lost that, unfortunately, there. He's trying to compensate by using the Ice Beam, and he may have succeeded here. So yes, he did have a backup plan, and it looks as if it's worked because he used the Cryo Beam very effectively there. Fordell not able to get his ore collector away in time, so that takes that out.
Cryo shot the backup plan, but losing that one cryocopter. Vindies would have loved to have that over the next couple of minutes to again be that harassment potential. Potentially for Fordell, though, this Tengu swarm, it's like the only thing that he's built.
Yeah, I'm surprised I haven't seen at least one hammer tank yet. In his previous match against Superpower, he was held to ransom for a very long time by a large amount of hammer tanks who he wasn't able to make a dent in for a very long time until I think Superpower made a slip up. Oh, and Vindies losing all of his Apollos there, which is another large investment gone there.
That's unfortunate that Vindies lost those Apollos, as at the same time he was losing a Harvester out on the water.
Oh, was he?
Vindies cannot quite take a break here. Every turn that he makes, Fordell is there with those Tengus just waiting and wanting more Tengus being pumped out one at a time. As you mentioned, no Tier 2 units, no Tsunami tanks here for Fordell.
Though I should point out, somehow Vindies has managed to get up to tier 3. He has got an Athena cannon and a Mirage tank, which is going to do a lot of damage should he manage to get it within firing range of Fordel's base. Those instant generators, they don't take a lot of damage before they go.
Fordel starting to encroach in on Vindies' base using those Tengus coming in from the back as Vindies, he's trying to react with that Mirage tank and the Athena cannon, as you mentioned before, but one power plant gets eliminated, and of course, these Tengus can just get on at a dodge. They could have sniped down that Vindicator if they really wanted to, but they're going to be able to snipe that power plant and then just clear out with basically no losses.
No losses at all, I saw from that time. But I don't know how much Fordel knows about Vindies' Athena cannon and Mirage tank here. I don't know whether we can see them properly.
Unfortunately for Fordel, he just lost a refinery rather to a spy of Vindies. I think he thought it was an engineer and went to sell it off, but Vindies ended up getting the infect anyways, and Fordel selling off his own refinery.
Oops.
Bit of a mistake as he once again is going for really heavy Tengu harass, going to be cleaning up at least one harvester, as all across the map he's just trying to kill every single economic outpoint for Vindies. He hasn't quite cleaned up everything, but he has severely hampered once again the economy of Vindies.
Yes, and we can see if you look at his main cluster of buildings over in the southwest, he's got his nanotech mainframe up, he's got the Imperial docks up, which means that we could be seeing, yes, we can see a King Oni now in the center, ready to counter the Mirage tank and Athena cannon.
A lot of Empire players don't actually like going tier 3 for the King Onis. They mostly just keep it for the Wave Force artillery and then try to combat their opponent that way. But King Oni can be a bit of a risk against Cryocopter. Getting it locked down easily is never something that you want to have happen. Speaking of Cryocopters, Vindies once again moving in, but once again the Tengus looking for an opportunity and in an angle of approach. We'll clean up a couple of Apollos, chase away that Cryocopter from the harass.
Yep, and Fordel once again very... Oh, I've lost my train of thought there. Goes straight back to his mecha bay, I'm so sorry. Goes straight back to his mecha bay to heal up as many of the Tengus as he can. They're going to have to protect this King Oni at some point because, as you say, a Cryocopter on that would be disastrous, and King Onis aren't cheap.
One of the great faults of trying to play tier 3 against a Soviet or an allied player, terror drones and Cryocopters will ruin your day. Fordel, though, he's doing what he can to ruin Vindies' day with this huge group of Tengus, which once again has moved in for a bit of a poke and a prod, chasing away the Harvester, killing an Apollo as well.
Yeah, it's going to lose another Apollo.
Ooh, very careful control from Vindies, slamming that F key at just the right time to actually not lose those Apollos. But yeah, that much damage, it's hard to actually keep them alive in that situation. Wave Force artillery now out for Fordel, so he's starting to build up that artillery armada.
That Wave Force is so deadly. It takes out so many units in just one hit. It's very weak, but it can do a lot of damage before you even realise it's looking at your base, even. You can lose 2 or 3 buildings to it without even realising it.
Fordel, not really... He doesn't quite have the quality of units to just march up to Vindies' base just yet and slam it down. As you mentioned, he hasn't really been going for many tsunami tanks throughout this game. Really just stuck on Tengus until tier 3, but even so, I don't know that he has enough just yet to break down the front door of Vindies. He could beef it out with either more King Onis or more tsunami tanks.
Tsunami tanks, you'd imagine, because I don't know.
Cheaper.
Yes, well, that. So I'm just seeing what these, what he's doing with these Tengus out in the southeast. I think he was just re-macroing up, re-control keying them, perhaps.
Whatever he was doing, he gets himself a kill on that Apollo. Going to be able to clean that up with very little trouble. Shogun Battleship may actually be popping out onto the field. Yes, it is. As you mentioned, that Tier 3 Imperial docks earlier, it's now paying off with the Shogun Battleship. 2 different types of artillery going to be on the docket for Fordell. And now, Vindies, he's just got that Athena cannon.
Yeah, I believe it is a glitch within this game that these Shogun battleships can in fact shoot through the floor, so they can attack things on the high ground even though they are on the lower ground, if I recall correctly.
I don't think that's a bug. I just think that's kind of bad. That's bad, like collision of the weapon with the map. But well, of course, it would be a bit silly if the other artillery water units for the other factions could all attack the high ground. But the Shogun couldn't. And
there we go, yes, the Shogun battleship firing upon Vindies or refinery now.
Going to be able to start working at Vindies from a couple of angles, which of course cues Vindies to move forward into the middle of the map. He's like, oh, suddenly I have to try to deal with that Shogun battleship, but I don't have naval units and my air units can't contend with that many Tengus. He's going to be pressing on forward. He's going to be utilizing that awesome micro that he has. And of course, bringing in a couple of spies wouldn't be a bad idea. Tengu's rocking up, clearing out a couple of the Apollos, but of course, they need to deal with the ground units. That's what the Mirage tanks are here for. Once those Tengus go for the transform, can they actually clear up the ground? King Oni steps forward, gets pretty much eliminated instantly.
Yes, but it has left Vindies Mirage tanks to get free reign of... Oh, did you see the King Oni that's been taken over?
I didn't even see the spy.
No, I've seen this in a couple of games. Vindies has managed to get a spy out and take over an enemy's units without anyone even seeing it. It's very, very, very good tactic.
It's almost his signature move, I feel like, at this point. He does that in so many games, and players have such trouble dealing with it. And kind of the worst part is he often disguises his own spies as like a peacekeeper or a javelin trooper. So you think it's, oh, just a simple javelin trooper or something, but it's actually that spy. Mirage tank gets eliminated, and Fordell has lost pretty much everything on the ground to this very impressive attack coming in from Vindies. Of course, Vindies packed along those Athena cannons, but there's Shogun battleships here to do the fight.
It's likely that those Shogun battleships will take out the... yes, taken both of them out there. Vindies now with not a great deal of units left, but he does still have his MCV, which is more than can be... Oh, no. Fordell does still have it, but he is now restricted to pretty much the water.
Vindies' potentially one harvester that's going to be online is actually bugged out on the high ground ridge. He just puts it back to work now. Fortunately, he did notice that. However, he's about to be down to pretty much just that one refinery of economy if Fordell's Shogun battleships actually swing around the other side of the island. Oh!
Uh-oh.
I don't know that I could call this game. In the event of a DC, if one player has a clear advantage, they get the victory, but
I don't see any clear victory here.
Exactly. This may have to be a rematch.
Oh no, we're back. Oh, I'm back.
Huh. On my screen it showed Fordell was disconnecting, but I guess it may have been someone else that was the problem. At any rate, this game, as they're saying in the chat, is indeed quite epic. Charlie, are you still here?
Yes, I am still here. Can you still hear me? Excellent.
I can still hear you just fine. Shogun battleships closing in from two sides for Fordell. He's going to be assaulting the high ground, cleans up that refinery. Vindies has virtually nothing left. A single Mirage tank on the right side running around trying to do its due diligence. And oh, Cryo getting firing off at the water expansion, gets the refinery, gets the naval yard, even going to get the harvester as that Vindicator goes heroic.
Well spotted there. That must have been incredibly well aimed. I was looking at the Shogun battleships and the Tengus, but Vindies still with the King Oni that he stole. You wonder how much use that will actually be now that Fordell has gone almost exclusively to the water. He's still got his Tengus there, though.
The Tengus are that ever-present threat for Fordell. Mirage tank going to be cloaking some of the units under that little shell, trying to keep the Shogun battleship from being able to kill anything off too easily. And this Shogun battleship, I guess it's not quite in range from the high ground of any of those units. I know a couple of the units are starting to rank up. Yes, and it looks as if, you don't like to say it, but you kind of think this might be game over for Vindies here. His MCV is about to get taken out, and all of... Wow, that spy almost grabbed that heroic Shogun battleship. There's the GG, well played, comes down. That's what Vindies had up in his sleeve. But yeah, it certainly did look over for Vindies for a little while there. Yes. A very nice first game to kick us off for the finals. What a great best of 7 we have in front of us today. 18 minutes for that first game. Sometimes Infinity Isle, with the closer spawns, can lead to some very quick games, but in that case, quite an epic match was had. Spawning in the top right corner, our Red Empire player, presently up 1-0 in this finals best of 7. He's got a long way to go, but can he do it? This is Fordell. And in the southwest corner, fighting with the allies, as he always does, it's Vindies in the yellow. Representing teammates, of course. Indeed. He's going to be hopefully grabbing them another 1v1 tournament victory here today. But Fordell, he himself, he's a back-to-back tournament champion. I believe it was 29 and 30 for the win that he was able to win. He wants to add another accolade to his roster. And he's rolled out straight away with the dojo calls. It seems to be a fairly standard tactic at the beginning of this map to go straight for the all derricks in the middle of the map. Achieved sending a dojo call out if you are the Empires. Always got to go for those dojo cores. Another thing that Vindies loves doing on more maps, but especially on Fire Island, is exactly what he's going for now. Riptides, Javelin Troopers, Peacekeepers, and probably an extra Engineer to head out as a little attack force to try to put some hurt on Fordell. Looks as if Fordell might be the early aggressor here. He's set up 2 dojo cores on the northwest edge. He's got some tank busters and some Imperial warriors lining up, facing off. But it looks as if Vindies has got some Riptides full of troops ready to counter with. Vindies being able to just micro to his heart's delight with these Riptides can be extremely fun to watch. He's, of course, got Peacekeepers inside of some of these Riptides, I imagine. And he's going to be able to, well, try to combat these tank busters, as you mentioned. He also does have a dog, which if it's able to sneak in, get up close, could be able to do some serious damage. In this case, Vindies trying to split down and split off part of these forces of Fordell. He's lost a lot of troops there. He's going to need to bring in a couple more. Otherwise, he might have trouble if they manage to get... Yes, they've managed to start attacking his ore refinery. If he's not careful, he's going to lose it. He does need to push in here and do some damage. Those tank busters slaughtering his walls and cleaning up on that ore refinery. Now the Vindicator is out. He's going to be heading over and trying to drop those bombs, but he gets a barracks down to body block for this ore refinery in just a moment's notice. Fordell deciding not to sacrifice and commit just yet to that refinery. Goes into his spider holes with most of his tank busters to avoid that dog bark. Yes, and Fordell, can he do it? He's going to push again. One dog coming out, gets a kill, gets eliminated, and another Rax maybe already queued up for Vindies. No, he's not quite ready just yet, and there goes the refinery, gets cleaned up. Fordell, the early aggressor, certainly is indeed coming true.
It's paid off very, very well. Vindies has got nothing to counter with apart from some javelins, which will not last very long against Imperial warriors.
Fortunately for Vindies, anti-air infantry from the Empire player, not really an option at this stage of the game. So his Vindicators for now, having pretty much free reign, but losing that refinery certainly does hurt, especially since Fordell, again, hasn't really taken any damage himself. He lost a lot of units, he lost that investment that he made, but he got a pretty big payoff.
Yeah, and if you look at their, individual, just looking through their individuals, like their player screens, you can see that Fordell has lots and lots more credits due to the fact that he didn't lose that ore refinery straight on. I'm just trying to see.
What is he actually sitting at?
He's sitting at 2,000 right now, and he's got 10. He's got 10 Tengus queued up, which means we might see something similar to what we saw last time. As in,
he does indeed like his Tengus.
He does like his Tengus.
He's going to also be grabbing that additional oil derrick, establishing a third refinery as well. Vindies going to bomb out that barracks of Fordell, not going to allow Fordell to get up that rack. The Apollo getting dangerously low to being cleaned up as it does go down. Trades out the Apollo and a Vindicator for just that one Tengu. Certainly not cost-effective for Vindies.
No, and he will need to be careful that that doesn't happen too much more, considering he already lost the ore refinery, which would have cost him a lot of money as it is.
He's certainly fighting uphill. Ooh, an engineer getting eliminated as well. I'm not actually sure how Fordell killed that one off, but
I didn't
did
see
something.
it either, I'm afraid.
That is, wow, adding insult to injury. A lot of hurt coming down on Vindies. That 500 credit investment was supposed to pay off, but just getting killed like that is about the worst thing. Another Apollo going down in the north. These Tengu traps that Fordell is setting are paying off big dividends as he's escaping with pretty much all of his Tengus. He has hardly lost any.
Yeah, and he's now got his third refinery up, and he will have his fourth up very, very soon, which means he is going to have a lot of credits at his disposal. Pardon me.
In this particular situation, Vindies feeling up against the ropes, his back is against the wall, the writing is on said wall, and he's like, hey, you know what always wins games? Turret pushes, let's try that.
And he's moved his MCV, or his construction yard, into a place where that would certainly be feasible.
He's kind of done it in the spot where if he had the money, he could also drop a refinery while turret pushing. But of course, in this case, I would be very surprised if that was his plan. He's probably just looking for the kill.
He set up a boot camp, and I wonder whether an engineer might be being sent in there.
It would be a wise choice. There's the sell-off of the refinery, which that's bad for Fordell, but he's going to get the kill on this engineer. So
on the engineer.
It kind of almost makes up for the loss of that refinery, because that refinery was able to harvest a couple thousand credits, so it's already paid for itself in that sense.
Yes. Vindies, though, putting up that turret next to the construction yard.
Ooh. Vindies almost had a laser lock with 3 Javelin Troopers on the Tier 2 Mecha Bay of Fordell. And actually, one Javelin Trooper does still survive.
Does still have one.
Yeah, he's like Q move.
There's a tank
oh my
buster
word!
Still in the thingy though. There's tank buster still. Is it going to take it out before?
Vindies might actually be able to kill off this Mecha Bay. Fordell turns around. He needs to potentially activate one of his special abilities. Gets it down very low on HP. Vindies getting some big strides here against Fordell.
He certainly made up for the fact that he lost. Oh, hold up. If we go back to Vindies' base, it looks like that. Those Tengus have made their way into the same ore refinery that Vindies lost. in the very early game, and there's now a Tengu sat right outside it, which is and it looks like he's noticed that because he's not building another one right now.
Vindies committing with his MCV. He's potentially trapped in this situation. This is a lot of tank busters and a couple of tsunami tanks as well back in the main base of Fordell, and he's got almost a complete surround on this MCVs. He's closing in from a couple of different angles. More Tengus now being produced out of that Mecha Bay. Vindies giving up pretty much everything with this MCV. It goes down, and I don't know that he actually has a hope left for taking this game. He's got 2 airfields, but can he actually hack it against the forces of Fordell?
Fordell has got 3 refineries and his MCV still intact. You do wonder how he could possibly pull this back.
Even if Vindies had a boot camp, that would be a better situation, but he's only got aircraft. He could build, you know, at max 8 Apollos, and eventually the Tengu swarm, or more likely VXs, will just overwhelm Vindies.
Yes. And it
GG!
Yeah, the GG's coming out there.
Vindies dropping 0-2 to Fordell. Now, keep in mind, guys, heading into this series, these 2 guys are pretty much evenly matched, and what's more than that is both of these guys made it all the way to the finals of this tournament without dropping a single map. They have both won every single game that they played, and now that only remains true for Fordell. Which one will emerge victorious from game number 3? If it's the man in the bottom left-hand corner, he's going to be putting himself in a very good situation for the rest of this series. This is the Red Empire player representing himself. This is Fordell.
And in the northeast corner, representing his faction of mates, it is Vindies in the yellow with the allies.
Going for, it looks like fast airfield? I'm assuming, because he hasn't dropped a single racks. Ordinarily, you drop 1 or 2 barracks in this map, but in this particular case, he's gone into 1 refinery, so it's not the fastest airfield possible.
No, and he's put... Yes, and there goes the airfield.
There we go.
Interesting strategy there. Not one that I've seen from Vindies before.
In this particular case, fast airfield can pay off pretty big dividends. He may be going for some, well, he goes for the Apollo, so he's not going engineer snipes.
That's got a burst drone attached to the top of it.
Oh, it's straight into tier 2. Fordell is going to be slowing down that Apollo with the burst drone, as you mentioned, but that tier 2, the cryocopter, is most likely on the way, and that is going to be really the choice for Vindies. Fordell has had about as much warning as he can against this. Fordell spotted this very early on, but isn't actually going to be enough to stop it. First Tengu is now out, the instant transform, but the Apollo is here. Oh, whoa, there we go. For a second, I thought that burst drone was actually going to miss the opportunity to explode on that Apollo.
No, he took it, but he's had to bring his cryocopter and Apollo out because there are Tengus now being produced.
1 oiled air captured by Fordell, so even if his harvesters are off the line, he does still have that little bit of income. His second harvester getting back to work. Vindies shrinks down his MCV, heads down directly across the map, and I guess this is going to be one of those turret-pushy games. These can turn so weird on Industrial Strike, where you do have quite a bit of water refineries that you can take.
Yes, and they're not that far away either. You could, well, they are far away, but you could certainly create quite a sizable base out on the water and get some tier 3 units out, possibly from there. I imagine an aircraft carrier would do huge amounts of damage on this map.
We may be getting a bit ahead of ourselves as Vindies going for the turret push, but Fordell, he's gone for the MCV cell, and Vindies does indeed know it. So it's going to be up to this cryocopter, it's going to be up to the micro and the control of both of these players as the first multi-gunner turret gets established by Vindies. And actually, it's going to be pretty much cleaned up almost immediately. He is going to be able to clean up some of those infantry. I think that multi-gunner turret may have actually paid for itself. And as long as Vindies does still have the economy rolling back home, he can afford these multi-gunner turrets.
Which he does. Both of his refineries are working just fine. He's got his boot camp out. He's sending his engineer over to take the oil derrick away from Fordell on the right-hand side.
Vindies trying to guard that engineer with his Vindicator. One Imperial Warrior going to be stepping forward, will get frozen down by that cryocopter. And that oil derrick, now under the control of Vindies, will start ticking away. And he'll have that constant income as well. This Tier 2 army starting to be established for Fordell.
Vindies will need to watch out because those Chopper VXs and Striker VXs, whichever they are at the time, can do a lot of damage from the air. He'll need to be very quick off the mark with his Apollos if they get near his base. Very quick off the mark.
Fordell moving forward. And again, those Striker VXs. Very dangerous either which way. Vindies is going to have to be very careful about how he's controlling his units. The spy is out. Oh, things just got a lot more complicated for Fordell. And of course, that spy is disguised as a peacekeeper, and Fordell doesn't know which one it is.
No, this has proved... Well, it didn't prove successful last time, but perhaps just bad luck. So maybe he can make it work this time.
It certainly does make things more interesting for Vindies. Fordell, as you mentioned, he was able to win that Infinity Isle game where Vindies made use of spies. If Vindies grabs a much tighter clump of units, like, say, a couple of tsunami tanks, that could definitely be a game winner for him. One Tengu ends up going down. Fordell needs to be careful that he's not just throwing away those excess units. Javelin Trooper on kind of that northern section of Fordell's base, going to be heading up to the high ground so he can actually start laser locking down some buildings. At the very least, it's going to force Fordell to use one of his air units to try to take that down.
This is a very, very old school strategy. This is one that I saw a lot quite a while ago. Oh, we've seen it already, and the Javelin will be taken out there. But that was a very common strategy years ago to get your Javelin or something, even just a attack dog or attack bear, up to that high ground so that you could see your opponent's base very clearly, and they wouldn't even know it.
Javelin Troopers have certainly wrecked a lot of buildings from that ridge. There's been a couple of games that have been decided or nearly decided that I've seen by those Javelin Troopers up top. In this particular case, it doesn't look like it's going to be the deciding factor, but Vindies packs up his MCV. He's heading out onto the water. I'm actually curious. He keeps changing direction with his MCV. He may just be calling this turret push off.
Possibly. You wonder where he's going, because he's not going in the direction of any more free refineries, which you would guess that he'd be looking for to strengthen his economy. He's going to go... Oh, no. Fordell has seen it. He needs to be very careful here.
Fordell starting to push in. He's got those 3 Chopper VXs in the sky targeting down that MCV. And the Apollos, they're going to have a hard time actually breaking through this. I believe there's a couple of more still out on the field. The garage is about to be captured by Vindies. The Apollos now going to be showing up, clean up both of the Tengus. I think they also may have killed one of the Strikers, but the rest of the Strikers have transformed onto the ground. Vindies, he's now got the garage, though.
He does, and his MCV is healed up very, very quickly because of it. Though we do see some tsunami tanks rolling in to take out the boot camp. I don't think he's going to have time to get a spy out. No, he doesn't this time, unfortunately.
Not quite able to make that work. MCV pressing on forward. Of course, it's healed up quite a bit, and it's actually going to be getting 1 crush on a tsunami tank. Might actually be getting a 2nd crush as well. This MCV could have just become a hero in this game. He's driving forward, and he'll get a 3rd crush. That's 3. Yeesh, 3 tsunami tanks for the price of 1 MCV.
And it's being healed up very, 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 very quickly by that garage. That is some very smart play there. And he gets the spy convert on one of the tsunami tanks as well.
a couple of moments of lax attention from Fordell, and suddenly this game has taken a turn for the worse for him. He is he just lost 4,000 credits worth of units, and now he has to deal with his own tsunami tank.
Yes, but if you look up into Vindies' home base, there were some chopper and some Tengus doing some damage to his airbase that he has not really got a counter for.
Vindies is kind of just escaping out onto the water. He's not caring too much about his main base, as you mentioned. He's instead just going to be focusing on trying to kill off Fordell's base as quickly as possible. He might actually be able to make this work with his MCV out on the water. It's going to force Fordell to kind of make the decision, does he want to head out onto the water or try to send everything back home to defend? Fordell drops the GG, and Vindies takes his first game back in this series.
Well, that was quite an unexpected GG. I thought Fordell still had some time to go there.
The writing was certainly on the wall with that one as well. Unfortunately, Empire don't necessarily have as many tricks up their sleeves to pull out as Allies do. So Fordell going to be backing out of that game, evening the score up a little bit to 2-1. Welcome to Game 4. We're kicking it on the east side of Cabana Republic for the man, the myth, potentially the legend, not quite yet, but he has just evened things up a little bit. He's taken his first game back in this series. This is Mates Vindies.
And on the left, in the red, representing himself, he is not affiliated with any particular group. It is Fordell with the Empires.
He's indeed going to continue with that Empire action. We kind of hyped him up as being the random player early on, but then it seems after that he was just like, nah, I'll play Empire.
I'd be interested to see at least one Soviet play from Fordell this final, perhaps, just so that we've seen every faction in the final, which would be nice.
Very interesting wall placement from Vindies, usually indicative of, I don't want to play a long game. That is,
yeah, that is quite the strength he's made around his refinery there, isn't it?
He is going about as all in as you can go. When you're dropping this much on walls as well, you are not expecting to be in this game very long.
No.
Cryocopters should be on the way momentarily for Vindies. Oh my word, these walls. This is the true wall swag action. I mean, Eminence, you got to give it to Eminence. He was the guy who invented the wall swag build, but in this case, Vindies, he's like perfecting it.
And he knows exactly where he's going to put each and every building he makes within those walls. It's been tried and tested.
Usually he does have very nice walls on Cabana Republic, but this time this takes the cake. There can't be really walls that are better than this.
So yeah, Vindies has shrunk down his MCV, taking it west there. He's going to set up, I think, right on Fordell's doorstep. He's certainly making the moves to do so as quickly as possible.
Fordell, on the other hand, of course, he just wants to survive. He knows that as long as he kind of survives this opening bit, he's going to be just fine. The bad thing for Fordell is that he went fast 3 refineries, which up against a cryocopter base push sort of build, generally not the thing that you want to do.
He has put up some Defender VXs though. Not on the northernmost refinery of his though, which he is now going to lose, I think.
Ooh, he made that investment. He took that risk. He was hoping this was going to be more of a straight-up game, and unfortunately, he's only harvested about 1,500 credits from that refinery, so it has not paid for itself.
Not so far. Vindies hasn't taken the time to actually destroy the building yet, but Fordell is not building anything more, so you get the feeling he's just left it there as a backup plan, maybe.
Vindies moving in with his cryocopter and his Vindicators trying to target down those tank busters. Loses his multi-gunner turret for now. But of course, this assault is not over. This attack has not stopped just yet. Fordell needs to hold on. He needs to just garrison up and turtle as hard as he can. If he's able to just hold this, he'll be in a fantastic position against Vindies.
Vindies is going to lose one of his power plants here.
Ooh.
Certainly
not good.
He does. And
the Yari mini-sub is pushing his MCV away. This has gone from bad to worse for Vindies. He's going to try to pull back a little bit, escape away from here, but even so, he's going to have a hard time actually doing anything.
He is now, yes, unless he's got a very good backup plan.
Cryocopters are pretty much always a good backup plan. Unfortunately, I don't think he really has any Vindicators out on the field to help him out with that plan. Fordell does have a couple of tank busters, which could start eating away at this MCV, making it even more difficult for Vindies to do anything. Vindicator comes in, kills off one of the harvesters, and Vindies still has to deal with these tank busters.
Yes, he couldn't run them over while his MCV was shrunk. But now that it's got back to full size, he can't chase them down. The tank busters can outrun him. So he's kind of shot himself in the foot a little bit there by shrinking it down.
It is a bit of a catch-22 for Vindies. He's going to have to deal with this damage output on his airfield as well, because he's starting to lose that. It's down below half health now from the tank buster and that Imperial Warrior.
And those tank busters have not ceased yet. And he's going to lose a cryocopter, perhaps. No,
oh, he's found a sweet spot.
Yes. So he's going to freeze down that generator. Whether he'll actually have anything to finish it off with will be a different matter. But we see the boot camp going up there.
Fordell's going to try to camp outside of that boot camp with his first couple of Imperial Warriors. He's going to get a kill on a Peacekeeper pretty darn quickly. Fordell could be bringing up this tank buster from the south a little bit and try to go for the kill on the MCV, or at least put more damage out on it while Vindies is dealing with these Imperial Warriors.
Yes, those Imperial Warriors completely nullified building that boot camp there for a while. And
forcing the
I think, yeah, he feels the same way by the looks of it.
Vindies going to be pushing forward with that MCV. It's taken so much damage, and certainly he's in a situation where it is do or die. He pretty much has to win right here, right now against Fordell. Fordell grabbing an additional oil derrick as well because, hey, why the heck not?
Yeah.
Peacekeeper goes down. Vindies has virtually nothing left, just the Vindicator and the Cryocopter.
He has got one oil refinery, one power plant, and the MCV, and that is the sum total of what he has, unfortunately.
He packs up his MCV. Another volley will kill it off as the tank buster goes heroic. And now it's down to this boot camp. The unhappy, frowny face comes down from Vindies as he tries to pump out Peacekeeper after Peacekeeper. This would have to be an insane micro feat for Vindies to win this game.
He hasn't given up just yet, but one wonders whether this is just more belligerence.
Actually,
yes.
GG comes down. I was going to say, he's still got that refinery, so he can produce Peacekeepers extremely slowly, but he still can produce them. I don't think that would quite work out either way. Vindies, unfortunately, will not be able to make that work. And Fordell goes up 3-1 into that match point scenario against Vindies. Right, welcome to Mers Landing, one of the newer maps that we don't see all that much, potentially for the last map. As for the guy on the left, this is the finals, and he is up 3-1 in this best of 7. This is Fordell.
And in the northeast, with the biggest uphill climb you may ever see in Red Alert 3 tournament history. It is Vindies, and he is looking to win this, because if he doesn't, that's it.
Precisely, everything is on the line. He has got one opportunity to basically win 3 games in a row. He has to win, you know, basically a best of 5 without losing any games. That's a silly way to put it, but as you said, it's an uphill climb.
It is the truth. So we can see that Vindies has elected to start with a boot camp. And that is about it. I don't see...
He's not going for anything crazy just yet, certainly. Just sort of standard play. Just 1 racks into the double refinery. He may actually be going Riptides relatively soon as well. But
he does have a seaport out. I did miss that. He's got a seaport out.
Yep, standard. Or maybe not standard, but it feels like standard for Vindies. He loves his seaports, he loves his infantry, he loves microing units all around the place. And whoa, whoa, whoa! Talk about standard, but take a look in Fordel's base and you'll see something that's a little bit non-standard. He's channeling the Bike Rush owns of Red Alert 3. Double War Factory, MCV cell most likely coming in the next couple of moments. And I think the only other guy that I've ever seen do this was C9Q9MD, one of the craziest Red Alert 3 players you'll ever see.
And how did that work out for him?
I'm pretty sure he lost the game. But it was also on Cabana Republic, which is a very different map than this. So the Tengu spam is what's on the docket for Fordel. He is going to be looking to use that cash boost from selling his MCV to just build an insane number of units. And I don't know that Vindies has actually spotted this. He's got a dog heading out across the map, but other than that, he probably has no idea that that's what is happening.
No, we can see that Fordel has got a burst drone on top of one of his mecha bays, on top of one of his prospectors. Pardon me. So he was able to see everything, but Vindies can see nothing.
Vindies is about to have a very hefty surprise as so many Tengus are going to be streaming out across the map, and he's going to be like, how do you have so many Tengus? The element of surprise, my friends, it's a powerful one.
And he'll have it by the bucket load. That burst drone still flying around. Vindies has got a dog. The sum total of his scouting forces is a dog on the left-hand side. Yeah, he's going to be hit quite hard here.
He's avoided the Imperial Warrior, but again, he hasn't quite got the full scout off, as far as I know. I'm going to jump over to his vision real quick, but he has not seen inside of Fordel's base at all, so Vindies, unfortunately, has no idea that this is happening. He probably thinks it's just a standard macro game, but against double Mecha Bay Tengu production, now it's actually single. Yeah, single Mecha Bay, but now it's into Tier 2. So he just used that to get a big boost of Tengus very early on, which, of course, if Vindies would have been going for probably, like, delayed cryocopters or something, that would have been very useful. But in this case, Fordel, I'm not actually sure what he's constructing out of his Mecha Bay. It's possible he's going straight Tier 3. That would be almost suicide.
It's, hang on a sec, let me have a quick look. It's another MCV. He's building another MCV. That's bold. Well, that's unorthodox. Let's put it that way. It's unorthodox.
I guess since he's rebuilding the MCV and he hasn't committed super hard to all-inning Vindies, this is actually just kind of like a normal game. Because he built the extra Mecha Bay and then he ended up selling it off, and now he's going to have his MCV back, and of course all of the money and the time that he lost doing that probably puts him at about the same spot that he would have been if he would have just gone 1 Mecha Bay.
Yes.
Those Apollos trying to engage, not quite able to get the better end of the Tengus. One more Apollo, does not go down, does manage to escape.
Does manage to escape, and the new MCV is set up. You wonder where he's going to expand to, if he's going to expand at all. He's going.
That is certainly something that's back on the docket. Of course, Merce Landing has a pretty darn close 3rd refinery that you can go to. Refineries 4 and 5 are a bit more spread out, but, you know, 1 on the land, 1 on the water. But that 3rd refinery, it's not too far of a drive to get there.
Are you hearing a load of guitar noises coming through the stream? I should apologise. It's my follower alert going off.
Ah, you indeed have one of those fancy follower alerts, but in this case, Vindies needs some fancy micro, or at least fancier micro than he just had, as he lost that Apollo. Wasn't able to slap that F key fast enough. 2 Apollos showing up, gonna try to get 1 Tengu, won't quite be able to make it happen. Vindies pulls up with a Vindicator, eliminates another Apollo, or another Tengu, but this is still a hefty number of Tengus out on the field.
It is. Vindies has pushed forward, but he won't have enough to counter the Tengus if they come, and they are coming now.
Interestingly enough, Vindies brought along his engineer as well. He's going to be sending it into one of the Riptides, I imagine. He might actually just be walking it all the way over to that oil derrick, which would be perhaps a bit silly, but certainly something that he could be doing. First multi-gunner turret is now down for Vindies.
And he's amassing his troops around it. Those javelins can do a lot of damage to Tengus while they're in the air, but Tengus are very effective against troops on the ground, so he'll need to be a little bit careful there.
Vindies moving in. He's got a couple of Javelin Troopers mixed in here for that anti-vehicle DPS, but this is a lot of Tengus, as you mentioned. They're going to be coming right in. There's the big transform on top of the Peacekeepers. There's going to be the point defense drones also called in to protect those Tengus. This is just not a whole lot here from Vindies. He's put everything on the line, and he's falling apart.
He's falling apart. He's lost every troop that he sent in there. Every single troop that he wasn't able to rescue one, and that is very unfortunate.
A total smashing coming in from Fordell. If only Vindies had had a couple of spies, if he would have been able to grab a couple of tsunami tanks, things would have turned out differently. And now he's given any sort of advantage or even footing that he had. He's pretty much given it away. Vindicator's going to be coming in trying to target down the tsunami tanks, but even so, there's still a lot of infantry. There's still a lot of Tengus to deal with.
Yes, there is. Those multi-gun turrets won't last long. And unfortunately, from there, it's moving straight onto his MCV behind it. Oh, unless... No.
It's going to have to be a miracle defense.
We'll see here for a moment. Oh, he's got another turret up. Yeah,
he does have the multi-gunner turrets kind of holding the line, but...
It's a very expensive way of keeping the line, isn't it?
It is, and Vindies... He's got the double oil derrick, which isn't as good as the third refinery that Fordell has got, but it is that extra bit of income. The kind of problem that I'm worried about for Vindies is he's really just sitting on aircraft and barracks, which are relatively easy to counter for Fordell. I mean, obviously, he's already got a lot of Tengus, so it certainly helps against both infantry and aircraft.
Yes, those Tengus, they're so... The hardest thing about those Tengus, which, if we look at Vindies' base, is currently rip-roaring through everything in the base. The oil collectors, the power plants, everything is kind of being destroyed there.
The power plants, the unseen kind of backbone of any base. And of course now Vindies, he's on that low power mode. He's into that double production times. Everything takes twice as long to build. He kills a harvester on the opposite side of the map. Killing off one of Fordell's harvesters is nice, but Fordell is still up a couple of harvesters on Vindies. And
Vindies has got no harvesters at all now. And he isn't building any either.
He is up against the walls. He has got barely anything left. He's holding on as long as he can. And after this game, if he wins, he has to do this 2 more times. Just not able to really make many mistakes.
He's going to be exhausted, but it'll make the win that much sweeter should it happen. I don't like saying anything like that about now, because you don't want to tempt anything, but...
Vindies rolling up. He's got a couple of Vindicators moving in. The Apollo's trying to provide that support, but Fordell is being very careful about not moving too far forward, not overcommitting with his forces, because certainly it is still possible for him to throw the game, though it would be a bit difficult for a player of Fordell's skill to make that many big mistakes.
Yes, we can see that Vindies is now has one of his ore collectors back, and the other one is halfway built. His MCV is still sat in the middle with full health. So I'm just taking stock of where he actually is now that it's all calmed down a little bit.
He doesn't have much. That much can be said. He's still got his tier 2, which is of course nice for the MCV. I feel like Spies may be Vindies simultaneously the best and potentially one of the worst options he could go for, because they are certainly a difficult move to really win a game with at this point.
Yeah, he'd need to do it lots of times successfully for it to work. Yes.
2 Striker VXs are mixed into this. Well, it was sort of a fleet of aircraft, but they're going to be joining back up with the Tengus on the right side of the map, attacking from the east across the water for Vindies. He's about to be losing even more of his infrastructure, which is already extremely limited. Cryo Shot fires off, doesn't really do anything in the main base of Fordell.
Fordell going straight for the power plants there, perhaps put Vindies into low power mode, which he succeeds in doing. Doesn't take out the ore refinery just yet. He's going to take out the motor gunner turret while he has the chance.
Vindies presses forward with the MCV on the opposite side of the map. He's looking for the crushes, the miracle crushes that pretty much won him one of the previous games, I think, on industrial strength. And in this particular case, he's not able to get it. And of course, with so many units on the east side of the map, Fordell, this is only part of his strength back home. These infantry and the units that are here, that's not his whole army.
Yep, and we can see the Vindicators almost being taken out there. The MCV having to retreat against the wave of Imperial warriors chasing it right out of the base.
Once again, Vindies still in that low power mode. He's lost one of his power plants. One of them still does remain. I'm not sure why Fordell has decided to turn around and not finish off the easy-to-kill infrastructure of Vindies.
Agreed. I'm not sure why he hasn't actually taken the time to actually finish destroying the ore refineries there. He's rebuilding the collectors now. Maybe he didn't think it'd be that much of a problem.
Oh, GG comes down. Vindies, with his MCV assaulted from every angle, will drop out of the finals. Fordell is your, now 3 times in 2015, your For the Win champion. He has taken it from Vindies, who was the defending champ, from For the Win 31. And For the Win 32 crowns Fordell as its victor.
What a game. That was a brilliant tournament. It was excellent to watch, excellent to commentate on. Very, very good tournament.
Definitely a fun kind of standout of an event from some of the previous For the Wins, which had some difficulties with players all getting along and doing exactly what they're supposed to. So this event, as a return to form for the Win, crowning Fordell as its champion, which Fordell won, I believe, both of the first For the Wins of 2015. So he's kind of returning to that, taking it away from Vindies. A big congratulations to both of these guys. Fordell will take home $30, Vindies will take home $15. And actually,